everybody. Welcome to When Calls the Hallmarkies. This is the show where we talk about When Calls the Heart, and we have two episodes to talk about on this episode of our podcast. And we are talking about season 8, episodes 4 and 5. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Caroline is here.
Hey, y'all.
And Ruth Hill is here.
Woo, I'm here. Yep. Hi.
Yeah, thank you both so much for coming on and doing this. I think it's going to be really fun to get to talk about these episodes. And do you feel like they've had a pretty good start? Now we're 5 episodes into the season. Do you feel like it's a pretty good start to the season 8?
Absolutely, I sure do. I'm loving it.
What do you think, Caroline?
I'm surprised on how much I'm enjoying it. With triangle aside, everything, I'm just enjoying it more than I thought. So I'm glad.
Yeah, I think it's been pretty fun so far. And I think that they are tantalizing us with what is going to happen pretty effectively. I think we're getting there. We need the next, hopefully our next episode, we're going to have some actual, maybe some kisses or something, something. I think now we're almost halfway through the season. They need to she needs to make a commitment, but so far they're doing a really good job kind of just teasing us along, I think. So,
for sure.
Yeah. Well, let's dive in and talk about episode 4. This is Welcome to Hope Valley. And the summary on IMDb is: the inquiry begins and Nathan starts to question his own actions. Meanwhile, a new family, the Canfields, buy Gowan's cabin, and Elizabeth welcomes them to Hope Valley. Lee's sister and niece arrive in Hope Valley. So, your overall thoughts on this episode. What did you think, Caroline?
I enjoyed this episode. The inquiry, that was the main thing. I was wondering about, and I loved that part. And meeting Lee's niece was I like her, and all the stories were good, I think.
What did you think, Ruth? Overall?
Oh yeah, I loved every bit of it. I loved getting to meet the Canfields. I thought everything was just fantastic.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this episode as well. I think it was really solid, and I think you had some nice acting from the child actors in this episode, in particular with Allie and her kind of big moment. And so I think she did Jada did a good job there, and we'll talk more about that. But I also thought that Angela, I forget the actress's name, that she did a very good Vienna, I think, is that her name? Yeah, Vienna. She did a very good job as well. So I thought that was the strength of the episode. And starts out with Elizabeth bringing books to the Canfields, and so she finds out that Angela is blind, and she gives her Anne of the Island.
I know. I'm sorry. I just have to say, being like, I love the Anne of Green Gables series. I read it at least twice, and so just having that connection, I was just loving it.
Yeah, she's giving it to, obviously, for her mother to read to her, which was very sweet. And I loved Anne of the Island in particular. I'm a huge Anne of Green Gables fan. And particularly Anne of the Island is very swoon-worthy. It's where they get engaged.
Yes.
And so that one's a really fun one. And so I enjoyed that too. And she gives Cooper Call of the Wild. And we find out that Angela is being homeschooled. And I totally understand where Minnie is coming from with this. Because if she hadn't been treated well at school, there's nothing that says you have to have your education from a schoolhouse, a traditional education. And so I totally see why she would want to give Angela the more specialized education.
Mhm.
And because we've even seen, even in Hope Valley, even those kids can be kind of mean at times.
Mhm.
We've seen episodes with them struggling, to get along and things. And here you have is Mrs. Thornton going to be able to give the kind of attention, individualized attention that a blind student is going to need?
Mhm.
And so I understand where she's coming from. I know. What do you think, Caroline, about that whole situation?
I like that struggle because, like, usually, like, Elizabeth, like, she gets what she wants, you know what I mean? And seeing that, like, Minnie is struggling with that, like, letting Angela go to school, I like that. And I can't wait to find out more about their struggles, like, in their different towns. And because it seems like it's more than just Angela. At least that's what I read from Minnie's expressions. So I'm excited to see that.
What do you think, Ruth?
I'm in total agreement. I think it was interesting to see the differences in Joseph's the father, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like I know. I'm sorry. I know the actors often, and I have to stop and think about the characters because I'm so used to like I do that so often.
Yeah. No, I do the same thing, especially talking about the movies.
Yeah,
I'm usually just like Andrew Walker went into.
I know. And it's just so that's like what they like. I know Viv, but what's his character's name? Yes. Seeing the differences in the parenting style, I think was another interesting. That as what I mean, yeah, it might be a little bit quote unquote stereotypical, but it's also true. There's that thing about the mother wants to be really protective of especially her daughter. Now her daughter's not only just but they have her daughter having a disability. So just seeing that differences in like, you know, Angela, right? That's the girl's name. Yeah, yeah. So Angela wants to she's like doing all these things and she wants to have some freedom and her dad's all like, oh yeah, and then but then it's like no. So it's I like seeing that and I liked being able to see that when I talked to Natasha this past week, there was this instant chemistry that those two had, that Natasha and Viv had on screen. I mean, they'd never met before, and you just could tell. It just like totally made sense. I mean, I feel like that couple, that family, has always been there, even though they just got introduced. Because I felt like the writers introduced this family so perfectly, and it's just like now I can't imagine Hope Valley without them. So I love the way it was introduced. I love that whole story. So.
Yeah, and Viv was so sweet on Twitter. He said after the episode aired, he said, I've been working in film TV for a long time, have been fortunate enough to have worked alongside major Hollywood stars and directors. Watching my children, Vienna and Elias, on When Calls the Heart is the best moment of my career.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
And I love that it's his kids. Like,
yeah.
It makes it even sweeter, you know?
Yeah.
Because I know when we interviewed Viv, this was, what was it, last year or 2019? It's all blurring together. But when we talked to him, he said that his daughter had been doing a lot of voice acting. And so she's been performing in one way or another for a while.
Right.
So, and so that was very, very sweet. And I loved when later on she plays Claire Loon.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, yes.
That was really good. That was really sweet. And I feel like I'm no expert. I don't know any blind people myself. But I feel like she's doing a pretty good job of capturing that character.
Yeah.
We also have we have Faith. She is she says to Carson, it feels like we either have to stop seeing each other or stop working together. And Carson he has the opportunity to go and watch a surgery for a new modern surgery, says. And so they're having some conflict going on there. And so Allie is very upset. She's very worried about this about this trial, this
Mhm.
investigation. And also Bill is very concerned about it. And there's also this whole thing about Fort Clay.
Mhm.
I don't know. What did you think, Ruth, about how this whole investigation kind of played out?
I think personally, I think there's still more to come. I'm not saying
Mhm.
that Nathan did anything wrong, and I'm not trying to say that he even knew Jack. Of course, I mean, I know that, but there's something that still Allie doesn't want to talk about it, so something's happened. I mean, it's just like, it's like there's something that's really that I just get that feeling. I think we're all kind of feeling that. I mean, I'm really grateful the way that it all played out. I think it was very, very well played, but I think we've just begun to peel back the onion, so to speak, and there's going to be more layers of what's to come.
Yeah, I agree. I think with the Jack part of it, I think there's more there.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And basically, it starts out. He says that he wasn't supposed to arrest these people, but he decided to because he felt like that was the safer way. And it kind of gets into he has to make the call of whether he's going to challenge this woman that has the gun, and what's going to happen. And he starts to kind of question whether that was the right call, even as he's on the stand. Should he have done that? And Bill is also asked about it. And obviously, that's a tough thing about being a officer, is you do have to make sometimes those tough calls of what to do, because you don't have time to like make a pros and cons list of what you're going to do. But it did obviously cause a manatee's life, and so that's a problem. I mean, we have this one officer who seems to have this grudge against Nathan. What do you think about that, Caroline?
It's interesting. Like I felt like there was more to the grudge than like just that one incident. Like so, like I just think it's more to it, and I can't wait to find out. But I love that Nathan, like, he wants to do it the right way, like, and even though it might not be the best way, he wants to do it the right way. And I just think I like that. And Bill made me laugh so much during the trial, I guess, or inquiry. Whenever they're like trying to like pin something on Nathan, and he would like move his chair or say something like he was acting like his lawyer. It just made me laugh so much. I love them together.
Bill is kind of, this is a good season for him. Do we agree?
Yeah. The more I watch season 8, like in season 7, I like Bill more than I did like season like 3 and 4. Like
definitely.
Yeah. So keep it up, Jack.
Yeah, because he's more of a team kind of player and more just more pleasant, as opposed to just being this kind of, I don't know. I just liked him. It was such a smart move to make him the judge. He's way better as the judge than the sheriff. That was way better. So that was a good move. So we have the arrival of Susanna and Rachel. And Susanna is very, very strict. And she is against things like saying something's delish. She gets kind of upset about that, about the casual clothes, even things like, oh, they have to eat early, and that's a problem. Frankly, I'm almost surprised that they would visit at all if she is so strict. She's challenging. I mean, and especially such a difference from Rosemary.
Yeah.
It couldn't be more different.
And poor Lee in the middle, like my wife and my sister, like this is not going to end well for poor Lee.
I know.
Mm-hmm. That's why I was surprised when she does ask for Rachel to stay with them, because I didn't see that going that way.
Yeah.
It was definitely surprising. We actually have an interview with Jennifer Laporte that will be coming. So I had a chance to talk to her, and she is really fun. I really enjoyed getting to know her. And I think that she has a lot of potential for Hallmark. And I really think she's fun in this role. And she was friends with Elise Murray, our good friend of the podcast.
Oh wow, that's neat.
Isn't that a small world? They both went to college together.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, so Rosemary is with Rachel at the dress shop, and that's where the Freedom Malls come into play.
Yeah.
And so then this is when next we get the scene with the piano. And like I said, I just loved that. Claire de Lune. Oh, it's so pretty. And
we'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. They're the good folks over at the Bundle Game and Hearties Ass Bundle Listen, from the creators of the Countdown to Christmas Hallmark Channel board game. There's now an official When Calls the Heart board game. Test your When Calls the Heart knowledge, recall your favorite show moments, and celebrate season 8.
This game is so much fun. Like the name 4 card, name your 4 favorite episodes of When Calls the Heart.
Not sure if I could narrow it down to just 4.
Or this acted out card, Love Triangle.
That's a fun one.
You can have these and many other cards in this fun game, When Calls the Heart board game. You can get your game at www.thebundlegame.com. Enter code Hallmarkies Podcast for free shipping. That's both words, Hallmarkies Podcast, free shipping. It's really fun. All kinds of trivia and fun stuff about your favorite show. So make sure to check out the When Calls the Heart board game at the www.thebundlegame.com. Enter code Hallmarkies Podcast for free shipping.
We have the whole scene with Bill and the constable, and he says this is about bad blood. And we have this scene where it seems like Bill is ignoring Molly, and Molly has gotten this very beautiful dress.
Oh my goodness, she was so gorgeous. Johanna was so gorgeous in that.
Do you agree, Caroline?
Yes. That was the best, like one of the best scenes. Like I love how they are showing Flo and Mo this season. It makes me happy. Like I love them both so much. So anytime they're on the screen, I'm like, yes.
Yeah. I liked it when she said that when it comes to Bill, you're playing the long game.
Yeah. $23 well spent.
Yeah. Which would have, I feel like that would have been a lot for a dress.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And Flo is like, whoa.
Yeah. Her facial expressions, like watching Molly, like they make me laugh so much.
Yeah.
And then they also put Rachel in the Freedom Malls, which, I mean, come on. Rosemary had to have known that this is the woman who is getting upset about them eating dinner too late. She's going to, she's not ready for Freedom Malls.
Yeah.
And gets upset with Delish. Like,
I mean, this should not have been a surprise to Rosemary. Come on.
Bless her heart.
Yeah.
And so Nathan, he says, I took a risk, but it's one I thought was necessary. I can't bring these men back, but I can honor them.
That scene for a minute, whenever they panned to Elizabeth and Allie walking in the street while he was talking about like honoring Mounties and their wives. Basically, I'm like that part gave me chills. I'm like, oh my gosh, like that was really a good moment for
It was good. And that's just when Allie rushes in.
Yeah.
She says, my uncle didn't do anything wrong. You don't understand. My uncle is one of the finest Mounties.
Yeah.
Impeccable.
Yeah. Jada is such a good little actress. She did a great job. So then it's probably one of the stronger moments that any of the child actors has had for a while, at least.
Yeah.
Since like maybe Opal in the Fire. So then Nathan is exonerated, and you see that everybody is super excited about it, of course. And I mean, I guess when you think about it, she's not really a child. I mean, I don't know how old Jada is, but
I think 14.
Yeah, she's a teenager for sure. So, and Lucas is pretty excited. He and Elizabeth have a conversation, and Elizabeth apologizes for not telling about his mother, and their parents split. And Lucas says, I should not have questioned what you knew about love. And that's when Elizabeth says, I told Nathan I won't be seeing him anymore. And he says, what could that mean for us?
Yeah.
I guess we're just going to have to wait and see.
And credits.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And we also get a little scene where Bill says to Molly, that was some dress. That's cute.
Yeah, that's cute.
Very cute. And then we have Carson coming back from his trip, and he brings Faith a doctor bag.
That was so sweet.
It was. Sweet. I loved it. I love that.
Yeah. So, if you were going to 1 to 10, what would you give this episode? What do you think, Caroline?
7.5.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think I probably agree with that. What do you think, Ruth?
I'll probably go with an 8.
Okay, good. All right. So then we have episode 5, and this episode is called What the Heart Wants. And I'm kind of amazed that wasn't used before. It took 8 seasons to do What the Heart Wants. But this episode, the IMDb description, it's graduation day at the Jack Thornton schoolhouse. Rosemary and Lee adjust to having family in town. A letter from Dottie sends all the Coulters reeling, and Clara learns Jesse made a big mistake. So overall, what did you think about this episode, Caroline?
I would end with a little bit of like hesitation, just because of like I knew what was gonna happen in this episode, but I enjoyed it. Like it was way better than I thought it was gonna be.
Ooh.
And
so you had heard some spoilers.
No, I just knew the date was coming, and I was like, it's gonna be all about the date. It's gonna be all about the date, but it really wasn't. So I was glad about that.
What do you think, Ruth?
I just loved it. I don't even know if I had any expectations for it to be for what was coming or anything like that. I tried. I don't. But I thought everything was fantastic. There were some wonderful, wonderful moments that I'm sure we'll get to. But I thought the pacing was great. Acting was phenomenal, and there were some really fun moments. There were some. I always know, this is what I always know, because I'm trying to live tweet, but I don't live tweet. I'm not always able to do it as much as I used to, but I am trying to live tweet. So when I look down for a moment and I hear my mom laugh and think, what did I miss? Because I just looked down for a moment. And so it's like, my mom doesn't laugh out loud a lot, but when but I've been noticing this season she does a lot more, and so for me that tells me that she's really enjoying this season. Like she's enjoying every episode really well, and so I always like to get her perspective since she is not as connected to the cast as I am.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, first of all, it was so brilliant to have a graduation, an event that makes sense to have outside for the school, because you obviously have restrictions with COVID, and what a smart way to do it. It was very smart.
And it was so pretty. Like, I love all the outdoor scenes we have gotten so far.
Yeah, I think that was very smart. And it starts out with Robert. He knows he's going to have to be giving a speech for the graduation. So is he like finished school?
It sounds like it. Like he graduated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He would be of the right age because Laura's finished school already.
Mm-hmm.
And so he can't. He should have just been maybe a year behind her, 2 at the most, and so she's been taking care of Jack, little Jack. So it makes sense that he would be done.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with his character now. He's post school. I hope they do something, because I think that could be interesting to see what happens with sort of this next generation.
Well, I know that Javen told me that Robert's. He didn't tell me what happens, but he said he really liked. I mean, and he doesn't always say this when I've talked with him. I mean, he always loves the show, but for him to say, I really like Robert's story this season, that was weird. So it's like, okay, so I think that means we need to be paying attention. If there's some more, I don't think we've seen the last. I think there's more stuff to come with Robert.
That's good.
And I watched a Facebook Live with John Tinker, and he said Allie and Robert are the star kids this season. So I'm excited for more Robert.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing that the Jeanette Oakes, that her books, that they haven't really captured yet on One Calls the Heart, but that you have like the generations. Like one book will be about the the parents, and the next will be about the, it's definitely Love Comes Softly captures that. Like each one is kind of, or there's like 2 movies about one generation, and then the next 2 will be about another, and then another, and whatever. And so I think that could be a fun element, especially if they want the show to go on. You're talking, if we're talking a lot longer, then you kind of need to start doing that.
Yep.
It's very good. So that was interesting, and it was a nice moment between him and Elizabeth, and she says, I'm very proud of the man you've become, and they have a hug. So then going on at the dress shop, Dottie sends word that she has a buyer, and that she's going to be selling the shop. And this is upsetting to Rosemary. She's already been feeling kind of insecure about her work. And it seems like pretty much every woman in Hope Valley has 2 jobs, at least 2. Clara has 3, as far as I can.
Clara.
She is working. She's helping Fiona. She's working at the dress shop, and she's working as the cook, or whatever at the restaurant. And so they keep themselves very busy. I guess Elizabeth is the only one that doesn't have 2 jobs.
That's true.
And so then Rosemary talks to Lee about what's happening, and Lee says, well, you could just stay at home, or whatever. And she gets very frustrated about that. I mean, in fairness, at that time, even if you didn't have children, you still would have plenty to do if you were at home. I mean, just things like doing laundry was a lot of work back then.
Yeah.
And the just keeping house and cooking and all that stuff is and volunteer work. And I mean, she would have no problem if she decided to not work. But she's obviously upset by the fact that Lee doesn't want her or says you don't have to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And when the trout thing.
Yeah. He says, "Go stuff your trout."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then Bill, he wants to wear his Surge outfit.
Mm-hmm.
And he wants to kind of take over while Nathan's on vacation. Is that right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just for old time's sake?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's feeling kind of old.
Midlife crisis.
Yeah. And
that scene was funny. That was cute.
Mm-hmm.
And Clara is kind of freaking out about styling hair.
Yes.
Which I'm very picky about who cuts my hair. And so that would make me very nervous. I wouldn't want her cutting my hair, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Poor Molly was
Yeah.
Oh my god, bless her heart.
That was such a wonderful scene, though. That was so hilarious. I mean, yeah.
But when Molly puts the whatever over her face,
yes,
when Bill walks in, that was hilarious.
Yes, me too.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
We also get a little hand touch between Florence and Ned. That was pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
And
Floyo.
Yeah. And we had Loretta Walsh on our show this week for our interview. So that was really fun to get to talk to her.
Yeah.
So Carson gets a big letter and he's very concerned about it. And it's a letter from the man he operated on in when he went away, and he has the chance to go and possibly study at Johns Hopkins in Baltimore. And they said that it's one of the most outstanding places to study in the country, but this is in Canada.
That's true.
So it's in the United States. It's not in their country. I was just gonna wait, Canada. This is in Canada.
Didn't catch that, but that's so true.
I didn't catch that either.
That kind of made me laugh. But yeah, Clara, she fries Molly's hair. This is like Little Women all over again.
Yes.
Yes,
I had that thought. Yeah.
My nightmare.
Yeah.
And, we didn't really get the payoff of what Molly kind of thought about. Like she fries it, and then we didn't really have like her freaking out or anything like that.
Well, we heard it though. She was yelling.
Yeah.
She screamed.
Yeah. I mean, I think we got the idea of it. I think but yeah.
Yeah. And so then, Hickam, he says, "I like Fiona."
Oh, I need Hickam to have a romance. So please let this stick.
It was cute. And then Jesse's like, "We all noticed."
Yes. Yeah.
That was good.
That was cute.
It was
good. And so Rosemary, she says that she's been thinking of leaving the dress shop anyways, and she wants to do something meaningful. And I think this kind of goes back to the whole idea of when Lee was saying that he never makes anything. And I think there is something to that we all, no matter what era you're living in, that we get to a certain point as adults where we're just doing the same thing every single day, all day. And I think as humans, we crave doing something that feels like it's meaningful, that actually makes something, that adds something to the world. And so I felt for Rosemary here.
Yeah.
Do you agree, Caroline?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's understandable. And especially because she doesn't have children, I think that also kind of, I think there's something about I can only imagine when you have children, you'd be able to speak to this, Ruth, but like you're actually kind of helping somebody, grow and become a person, like there's something meaningful that you're doing on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And so then we have Elizabeth she gets a dress for the graduation, but then she also gets a party dress. And what did you think, Caroline, of this dress?
Like Elizabeth said, it's not Elizabeth. It's not an Elizabeth dress. It's not.
Right.
So that a hint, maybe. So I love the graduation dress, and I love that green on Erin.
Yeah, me too.
But the date dress, party dress, like it was a shock to me. And so yeah, but it looked good on her. But it was not Elizabeth at all. Like not even close.
What did you think of it, Ruth?
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. It was like my mom said that was almost a saloon dress. Is what she said. And I mean, I think it was intended to be a shock. I think it was kind of like and I'm sure there is that thing if she is wanting to pursue some kind of relationship with Lucas, however that might look, she probably is going to test the waters and see if okay, I've been this prim and proper schoolgirl, or not schoolgirl, but school marm all this time, and always wearing the prim and proper things for the most part, and kind of stepping out. It probably felt very liberating to Elizabeth. I mean, let's think about it. You think about the time period and all that, and I kept thinking though, is Lucas spending more time looking at one part of the dress? I'm just gonna say, I kept thinking, did he, how much? Because you don't see that in Hope Valley. Like all the women are mostly covered up, shall we say.
Well, and it wasn't even the cut of the dress too, it was the color.
Yeah, the color too, right. Yes, the color and because we see her always wearing bright colors or white or something like, so that color just it shocked me, like so I think that's foreshadowing too. Yes, I think you're right.
Well, that's the struggle sometimes that I have with When Calls the Heart, because they have made the choice to not be historically accurate in the hair and in the clothes. And they've said it many times that we're just like paying homage and whatever. That's their choice. Yeah. But then when they do something like this, it's hard to know what I'm supposed to think about it. Because it's obviously not historically accurate at all. Like if she was wearing this dress, I'm sorry, she would be in a saloon or be a harlot, like for lack of a better word. Yeah. And in if you're talking reality, but we're not talking reality. So what does it mean? I don't know. I don't know what they're trying to say with this.
I thought like maybe she was just trying something different, but when she said this is not Elizabeth, like that just sent it like like I'm like, oh, that means something because she said it, like it's not her.
I don't think it's supposed to be any kind of scandalous statement.
No, it's not.
But again, it's just hard to put in context because the whole show is kind of out of context. And so I don't know, that's something it was pretty, but a lot of skin for When Calls the Heart.
Yes, I had that thought too.
And not for officially courting too, you know what I mean? Because are they courting? You know what I mean? So like it was.
It's a little confusing, and it looks like next episode they get close to kiss. Like what's happening. So I'm feeling like it's maybe a little bit bait and switch, and it's not going to end up being Team Lucas, but they are making it seem like it's going to be Team Lucas.
And I think that's what like Kevin and Chris have both said. Like you think it's going one way, and then the big old loop, and it's back. Yeah, so
that's what I'm anticipating.
Yeah, me too. I hope.
Oh, you're full on Team Nathan, huh?
I'm full on Team Nathan. Yeah.
Nathan, okay.
Yeah.
I'm still
Kevin McGarry won me over.
I'm still Team Lucas, I have to say, but I like them both. So anyway, so Rachel is gone. She's missing. And she's also been reading steamy novels, Young Woman in Bloom. That was funny. And I like Rosemary's.
Yeah. She reminds me of Julie. Like young Julie. Yeah.
I was the same thing. Yeah.
I thought the whole scene with Elizabeth and Nathan was pretty weird. Like, if you were calling somebody for calling a meeting for somebody who was not at parent teacher conference, I would not have it at night in your home. Like, why wouldn't you just either go to the sheriff place or make some meeting at the school? Like, that felt very weird to me.
Oh yeah, but you have to remember that this is When Calls the Heart, and Elizabeth Hessing has been a single woman, having been. It would have been. I see what you're saying, because if you wanted to take it culturally, you would not have done that. I mean, that never would have happened.
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't have a single woman, single man in a house at night. Yes, you wouldn't do that. But because of this Hope Valley, everything's okay.
Well, no, I just I agree with that, but what I'm saying is it just feels like you're actively making it more awkward. Like, it would be less awkward in a place of business than your personal home.
I think she was just wanting to check on him. I don't think like it was meant for the meeting to happen right then. It's like that's what I was gathering from what she was saying. Like she was worried that he didn't show up and she didn't know what happened, so she wanted to see what happened. And then he went fishing with Allie. So
because he says probably would have been better to have this meeting at school, and I'm like, probably would.
Right. Well, I think they both wanted to get it out of the way because it was awkward, and they just thought, well, let's not make it more awkward and have to set up another meeting. Let's just do it and be done with it, and get it out. I think there was an element of that too. Like, let's just get it out of the way and we're done with it, because otherwise it's gonna. If maybe they hadn't gotten out of the way, they both would have gone back to their homes and they would have been awake all night, like worried about it or something. I mean, possibly stewing about it. Oh no, I have to meet. We have to meet each other and see each other again. Let's just get it over with. I think there was that.
Yeah. So you also have Clara talking to Bill about purchasing the cafe, about buying Abigail's portion of the cafe. And am I right, or is this the first time that we've really talked about Abigail since?
I think the first. Yeah, definitely.
I can't think of any other time. So that was interesting. Lucas taking Elizabeth on a morning ride, and Lucas is not going to go to the ceremony because he thinks he wants it to be Nathan's moment. And they're getting pretty chummy there on that bridge. I thought, ooh, are they gonna kiss here? Maybe, but no. But that was pretty. I liked that between them.
So the outdoor scenes really are top notch. So I did like that.
Yeah. And so have we seen this Mr. Landis before?
No.
He was new. I wasn't sure. And he is like investigating the school?
Or he wants the school to be part of the the area school system. Basically the district, And she says, oh, we're an independent school. And he says, oh, well, you can't teach a blind person because you aren't certified to teach the blind, which, I mean, I think there's probably a point to the fact that if she is going to take on a blind student, she probably ought to get some training on how to teach a blind student. That'd probably be wise. But I felt like there was a scene missing, with Mr. Landis, that all of a sudden
he kind of came out of nowhere, and I wouldn't be surprised if there was a scene that was cut.
I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah, possibly.
I think he'll come back though. I think it was not a one and done episode.
Is this the same people that Elizabeth had the bad experiences with a few seasons ago when there was the kind of creepy guy in the school system?
I don't know if it's just because it's just in this like territory, you know what I mean? Like that area of the like Hope Valley and the surrounding areas.
Yeah.
Because the other I forget his name. His name's slipped my mind, but he was in Hamilton.
Yeah.
Oh,
right. Yeah.
Okay. I can remember. So yeah, we'll see what's going to happen with that.
Yeah.
And Minnie says that she'll allow Angela to work with Elizabeth, and so she's very excited about that.
Yeah.
What do you think, Ruth, of the little ceremony, the graduation?
Oh my goodness, the song! I was totally melting when the kids all started singing that song.
Yeah, it was really good.
I was just I was like, that's just like one of my all-time favorite kids, Hope Valley kids scene. I mean, that just it was so well done. So and I think that was one where you knew the kids were playing a role, but also each one of those actors absolutely adores Erin. So I'm sure that there was kind of a double thing of we're getting to sing this to her, and we all love her, and she's done so much for us. So they're like singing to Miss Thornton, but they're also singing to Erin, I think.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's true.
Yeah,
it was very, very sweet. I enjoyed it a lot, and so then we have the date between Lucas and Elizabeth, and like you said, Caroline, she's wearing the dress, and things are getting pretty close, and between them, and I did kind of laugh when you see all the candles.
Yeah.
I'm like, Lucas.
In the backyard, like all of us, like who did that? Like, first off, like who ran over to Elizabeth's house and did this? Like,
Lucas knows the way to Elizabeth's heart.
Kat Montgomery must be the next door neighbor or something.
Go over to the local Bed Bath & Beyond and stock up candles. And there was evidently something. I feel like this was a very low lit episode of When Calls the Heart. But yeah, I was glad because Jack, that was the key to Elizabeth's heart, was lots of candles. So very smart. And he says tonight should be about us. And they even shared their dessert. So that was pretty yummy. And she says, this is the first time that nothing has been weighing on me. And then they hold hands. And Elizabeth says, I need us to take things slowly. And he says, I got all the time in the world or whatever, something like that. So pretty good episode for Lucas, I'd say.
Bless his heart, though.
Yeah. So we'll see where things go from here. But we also get Clara telling Jesse that we can buy the cafe, and he says no, we can't. And he's spent all of their money, invested all their money. They don't have the money, and so she's very upset. And I felt like I also felt like a scene was cut. This kind of felt like it came out of nowhere to me. Like we haven't, as far as I knew, I didn't think there were any problems between Jesse and Clara since the first episode of the season, at least. They seemed to be fine, and they were just cutting hair, not too long ago. They were, chatting. There wasn't like this buildup of like all this tension between the two of them or something, and then all of a sudden we have this super intense moment of the episode, and I was like, whoa, where did that come from? And I'm not saying they did a good job, they did, but again, I felt like there must have been a scene cut or something.
It did feel out of place, like in the episode. Like I wish we would have seen like maybe Jesse talking to somebody else about like, oh, like I messed up, like, and how do I tell my wife? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like there's been no sort of scene with him talking to Lee or something like that. Like, oh, I'm in heap of trouble. Like, we haven't even seen him making investments, have we? Like, he hasn't been like talking to Gowan or something like that, or I don't know. It just seemed to come out of nowhere. So I don't know. That was interesting. What do you think of it, Ruth?
I guess I hadn't thought about that. I guess I was thinking that very often we're seeing things from like the female perspective. Not that we don't never see the male, but in this kind of situation we've been seeing. So I was thinking they were putting us in the shoes of like Clara, like, you know, for Clara, it did come out of left field. Like Clara has been so busy working 3 jobs, she assumes everything is fine, and then come to find out it's like now she, you know, she goes to the bank and finds out, and she finds out that way, and he has not been he's not been open with her about what's going on. So I guess I mean you could be right. I guess I was taking it from, we're seeing it from Clara's perspective.
I can see that. That's true. That's a good point. So yeah, we got the teaser for next week.
Yeah,
looks pretty exciting.
Yeah,
it's gonna be an intense episode.
Yes, I think so. We're halfway through, so they better step it up. So there we go. That's our thoughts on. I guess, what would you give this one 1 to 10? What do you think, Caroline?
I hate deciding. 8. I don't know. 8. Sorry. 8.
Yeah. What about you, Ruth?
I'll say 8.25.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's a pretty good episode of When Calls the Heart. I'll give it an 8 as well. So let us know what you would give both these episodes. What were some of your favorite parts? We tried to cover everything, but if there's something we didn't cover, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments or on Twitter. And that would be a lot of fun. And Caroline, where can people find you?
On Twitter at @MetaCarolineR.
Great. And Ruth?
On Twitter and Instagram, RuthHill74. And then on Facebook, Media from the Heart. And my website is mydevotionalthoughts.net.
Great. Yes, and you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. And make sure you're following the podcast, the Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please give us your ratings and reviews. We really appreciate it. And if you're listening on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have our patron group, which is a lot of fun, and we are going to be having our next watch along coming up this next weekend with Paul Campbell doing the watch along, so that's going to be super fun. And then we also have our merch store, which has tons of Hearties inspired merch, so check that out as well. We really appreciate it. We have a sale coming up this week, so check that out. And so we really appreciate it, and we'll talk again in 2 weeks. Bye everyone.
Bye.